this is Cindy, Creating the Heart, and today I'm starting my winter series. I'm going to make a little mini album just for fun. I don't have any need really for a winter album, but you never know. So I'm going to be using the I Love Winter 6x6 paper pad and most likely the ephemera. So to start the album, you need to make your pages. Now I've already done my pages, but let me go ahead and give you a quick rundown on how to make these. So you're going to cut your cardstock at whatever size that you want your pages to be. Now mine is 6 by 4 1/4. So you're going to cut your pages at 6 by 5 1/4, and then you're going to score at the top, both sides at 1/2 inch. So that will make your page 4 1/4 inches. And then you're going to have another piece of cardstock cut at 6 by 4, and you're going to go ahead and the scored parts, you're going to put your score tape on, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to lay your paper. So kind of, I had an example and then it all went wrong. But basically the way that it works is you would have your scored pieces like so. You'd have score tape here, and then you have another piece of paper that lays on top and makes the page. And the page will have both sides open at the end. One side will go into our hinge, and the other side is going to be a pocket. Then you're going to go ahead and cover your pages with your patterned paper. And an option that you could do, it's totally an option. I only did it for 3 of them. And that is to create a little flip down. Now to do the flip down, you cut a piece of paper at 4 1/2 by 6. You score the 4 so that you end up with a 4 by 6 with a little 1/2 inch piece of paper. That you're going to go ahead and put tape on, and you're going to adhere it down and create a little bit of a flap. And then you put your paper over it and it covers the hinge that you make. So super easy, super simple. I only did the little hinge part on 3 of them. Could have done them on all of them, but I don't have a lot of paper, so I need one more paper here. And so what I did was used a punch for the corners, a corner punch. Still having a little bit of problems. See what had happened was I had filmed this and I had filmed me making this, and then my little netbook that I used to make this on actually stopped running. It ran out of memory. So it stopped my video in the middle of it, and that's why I'm not showing you completely from scratch how to make the album, because I had already made it on film, I thought, and that footage ended up being lost. So, but we'll make the covers together. Oh, did not guess that very well. Okay, so go ahead and put this back on here like that. So that's real life, things happen, and we just go with the flow. All right, so here you go. We have our pages already done. Now we're going to go ahead and work on our covers. So for my covers, I have 3 pieces of chipboard. These 2 pieces are 6 1/2 by 4 1/2. And then my spine piece is 2 inches by 4 1/2. And then it's strictly optional whether you want to do this or not. But I have a little piece of Tyvek. So I purchased many years ago a big box of Tyvek envelopes from Office Depot, and I'm still working on those envelopes. I think I got 100 in there or something like that. But the post office, sometimes you'll get a package and it's in a USPS priority mail envelope, and it's made out of this Tyvek kind of material. You can totally cut that up and use that for your album. Then for covering our chipboard, and I'm going to have to pull this camera up just a tad so that you guys can see a little bit better. Oh, sorry. You have to be able to see all the way through. So what I did was I took some blue cardstock, 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I cut it down to 5.5 by 11. I took 2 sheets of that, and then I just adhered them with score tape down the middle to give me enough cardstock for my chipboard. So, and then there's enough clearance here for me to fold my chipboard. I really should have given myself more clearance, but it is what it is. So for this, generally what I do, and I use score tape for this, I just think it's the best to use. I mean, you don't have to use score tape for your whole project if, because it is expensive. You can use wet glue, but I definitely recommend it for this portion of it. So I'm going to put some score tape on my spine. So I always start with my spine. Okay, so, and this is just my method of doing it. There's lots of people on YouTube have their own methods for creating an album. Oops, it's supposed to be this way. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. And this just really gives some extra bit of strength to the parts of your album that are going to be opening and closing the most. So I like it. So what I do is I put, this is 1/4 inch score tape. So I put a 1/4 inch score tape right next to the chipboard on the side, and that's going to help me decide where to put my next piece because I want space for my album to open and close easily. So this is that gap for that space. Okay. So there we go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm only going to remove the 2 outer pieces of score tape, and the score tape next to the chipboard I'm actually going to leave there. I'll leave that there for now anyway. Okay, and then I'm going to take what will end up being my back. And so then what that will do is then that will give me a 1/4 inch of turning space for my album. I do the same thing on the other side. And so I think this is the hardest part making an album because you can do whatever you want for pages. I mean, you don't even have to use whatever hinge system you want. You can not even have a hinge system. But just this part seems to kind of be the hardest part. And so we're going to go ahead and lay that there. Okay. So I've got my piece there. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put score tape on the back of here. And I don't have to do too much score tape. But I mean, it can be expensive. The score tape definitely is expensive. But if you're going to make albums, then I think it's the best stuff. The wet glue doesn't work quite as well for one thing. It does warp your paper, I find. Maybe that's just me, but I find that it warps paper. And this holds really, really well. It's just super clean. All right, so we've got score tape all over there. So now you take it off. And I know some people use their craft knife, but I always stab myself. So I don't use my craft knife if I can even find it. I have one of those old Peppered Chef little twirly things that you're supposed to put utensils in. And I even bought the Making Memories one, and I have it also. But I really like the Pampered Chef one. It's just, I don't know, it's bigger. I don't know, it's just better. Just like it better. It's simple. I remember the other one, the Making Memories one, like tries to be fancy. So, I don't know. I have it, I use it. It's got some stuff in it, but it's the stuff that I don't use very often. And so things do disappear out of my Pampered Chef one, like I can't find stuff. Somewhere I have a craft knife. Probably have two. All right. So once I've done that, then I'm going to set down my chipboard. I'm going to center it the best that I can. So I want to give myself enough space. I really should have probably have cut my paper, my cardstock a little bit bigger, but this will be okay. And then I'm going to trim off the edge that I don't need because it's like excess cardstock at the end that I don't need. So I'm just going to slice that off. Okay. So now I've got my chipboard all in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put score tape all along the perimeter of the chipboard first. Doesn't matter what order you do this in actually, but I do it first. And just the perimeter. I'm going to do this end. And I'm going to do the end that you can't see. All right, so now to miter the corners, I have a handy dandy tool. I have this tool. This I got from Colorway Arts on Etsy. And this was recommended by Paper Phenomenon. You can just cut the corner. And the way that it works is you lay it down like so, and it gives you the perfect place to cut. So that when you, cut it, then everything will match up very nicely. And we'll see if it works. I don't use this. I haven't really been making an album. I haven't made an album forever. That's why I decided to make one, because I just had gotten tired isn't the right word, but it's a lot of work to make an album, and I don't know, just wasn't feeling it. Sometimes that happens, or you just don't feel like doing something. Okay, so once you have done that, generally what I will do is I will put score tape on the cardstock as well, but I haven't given myself very much room to work with, and that was my own fault. So it's going to be very tight to turn these this paper over. So we'll have to see how it works. So I'm gonna have to cut my inside pages very, very tight to cover this to help out with it. All right, so I fold them all over to kind of get them trained. Okay, so then what I do is I take my score tape off one end, if I can, off one end, all the way down. And I still leave these ones in there for right now. I'll take them off in a second, but right now I'm going to leave them in. All right, so then we very carefully pull this up and stick it to the score tape. Now, if you have cut your paper a little bit bigger, then you might want to put score tape on the cardstock as well, but this is going to be enough for this mini. I'm saving some score tape. Okay, then I'm going to do the opposite side. I'll do the opposite side. And we just fold this up and just press, press, press. Press, press, press. All the way down the line. Press, press, press. And I'm going to take my bone folder. Just going to go over this. Go over the other side. It really does help adhere it. Okay, then I'm going to do this side. And what I'm going to kind of do is take my bone folder and kind of press down right here like I'm doing a present a little bit. And then fold this over. And so that tool does know where to cut because I do have a very clean edge right there, considering my paper's not perfect. But I don't let it bother me because it will be perfect in the end. Okay, and then we do this end right here. I'm gonna kind of press down right there. And voila. Okay. Then I fold. Make sure everything is good. There's some folding that happens to make sure that that's all good. So we have a 1/4 inch little area there for opening and closing. Okay, so there we go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover this inside. And this is actually where I could possibly use my craft knife. And get in there and get this out. If I can, this one's in there pretty good. Oh, here we go. And so once I get this one up, then we're going to cover the inside and we are almost done. There we go. Get the rest of this up. Okay. This is a Martha Stewart thingy. Okay, so now I've got this and I've got my papers. I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do. I'm doing something very simple for the front. I've kind of already decided on my front. And then I'm going to put this in here and this over here like that. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to measure it just to get it clear. This should be 6.5, right? So 6, this is 4.5 by 6.5. So it's not going to go all the way across, but I'm going to put another sheet of paper there. So I'm going to cut this down to a little bit smaller than 4.5. Just a tad smaller than 4.5. And I'm going to leave it at 6. So here it is, like so. And the reason why I did that is I really want to cover my edges really, really well. So there it is right there. And so what I do is I use my score tape. Anytime you've got like seams like this or chipboard, I really find that the way to go is score tape. I just think that it just works better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put score tape all along the, I don't want to get any tape on this just in case there's still some exposed tape on there, all along the edges of my paper. And I do use a lot of score tape when I make an album. So generally I don't use score tape that often in my regular crafting, but I do use it a lot for making albums. And especially the covers. Okay, so there we go. And There it is. So then I just take the score tape off and take the score tape off everything. And, you know, here's the thing too is it's good to have a trash can handy because you will quickly make a mess with all the score tape paper. And then I gotta take it off of my paper. But this will hold everything down for you. You won't have stuff popping up like, you know, a few months after you make this. You'd be like, oh man. So you want to use score tape. Sorry, it's a little bit off camera, but I gotta struggling. And here we go. And there. Oh, one more here. Get that last one. Here we go. So I will get it right up to the edge for this one. Right up there. Because this one was pretty close. So I did this one very close. So I press this down. Okay, now we've got the other side. I'm going to cut that one just a tad smaller than 4.5 as well. And I'm going to do the same thing, and then I'm going to do the middle. And then I probably will come back for part 2. Because the video is getting long. Okay, and then I'm going to off camera really quickly put the score tape on the paper that's going to go down. Okay, here we go. All right, ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take this tape off. That one doesn't want to come up. Go. And here we go. This one's kind of finicky. Get it up. Yeah, I've tried, like, I see a lot of people using, you know, their knife, but man, I stab myself. I am not super handy with the craft knife. Okay, so I'm taking the score tape off the paper, but I'm kind of doing it on my lap because I don't want to accidentally set it down on this part that I just put score tape on, because I have done that before. So don't do that because that stinks. Okay. All right, so here's the back. You can see it starting to take shape. Okay, so there we go. Now we have this space right here, and I'm going to measure that space. I would say about 4 inches will give me plenty of clearance, which is perfect because I actually need the other 2 inches for my spine. I'm going to use the same paper. So 4 by a little bit less than 4.5 is what I'm going to put right here. Okay, and then we'll come back and we'll do the spine together. So I'll show you kind of. Okay, now I'm on to another. Hold on, I gotta get another score tape. I had a lot of like halfway used score tape packets. So I've got score tape. Oh God, I have score tape. These are all big score tapes. I don't want to use it on that. Oh, there's my skinny score tape. My skinny score tape. I have a whole bunch of score tape from a project. Okay, I'll just use the big one for right now. This is 1/2-inch score tape. It's fine. It is fine. I will use the 1/2-inch score tape. You can see it's like way bigger. Now, I don't put any score tape on that opened area. I will stick my patterned paper in there, but I generally will not put tape in there because it already has tape. Doesn't need it. And then I'll put tape right here. And when I go off camera, I'll find my other. I have a whole bag of it, but I don't know where exactly it is. Okay, I'm going to put tape all around. Again, I'm not going to do it in front of you guys because I'm afraid my space is really small right here. And I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up because I have done that before. So the 1/2-inch tape I usually use for when I'm making a big book. And okay, we are ready to go. So I'm just going to take this off. That. This one is up a little high. All right, so we're almost ready. This album is almost done too. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to go do this one that I've got in my lap. This is the pattern paper I'm using. I'm going to be using the same paper for the spine. Okay. And all right, so here we go. And kind of get it in there, get it in there, and there we go. Inside is ready to go for our spine and our pages. So thank you for watching. Part 2 coming up.